In a quiet neighborhood filled with morning sunshine and the sound of birds, lived a man who believed he was building the perfect life. His name was Daniel, and he was always busy. Each morning began the same way. The alarm would ring, and before the sun had properly risen, Daniel's mind was already racing with meetings, numbers, deadlines. "Dad, look what I made," his son would say, holding up a drawing filled with color and imagination. Daniel would glance up for a second, smile politely and reply, "That's lovely, son, but I'm busy." At the office, Daniel thrived. His phone rarely stopped ringing. His calendar was full. His ambition burned brighter than the midday sun. "Come join us for lunch in the park," a colleague would say. Daniel barely looked up. "Maybe next time. I'm busy." That afternoon, his son searched the stands for a familiar face. The seat remained empty. "Dad said he had work," he whispered. Across town, his wife waited with 2 cups of coffee. The second cup grew cold beneath the afternoon sun. And so, Daniel climbed higher. Promotion after promotion. Applause filled the room. Success wrapped around him like a shining trophy. When he returned home, the house was quiet. The laughter had already happened without him. Later that evening, his son returned to the drawing. The sun was bright on the page, the house colorful and warm, but the space beside him remained empty. He did not know which color to use for a father who was never there. Saturday promised sunshine and fresh air. A picnic had been planned. Laughter almost filled the air, until his phone rang. "I'll just take this," Daniel said. He never came back to the garden. They sat beneath a tree heavy with green leaves. Around them, families shared sandwiches and stories. But their blanket remained folded. The sunshine felt strangely distant. Time moved differently for Daniel. Hours slipped past unnoticed. He measured his life in deadlines, not in moments. The teacher spoke warmly about his son's creativity. "He's very talented," she said. His wife smiled politely, while the empty chair beside her remained silent. On his son's birthday, balloons floated joyfully in the afternoon sky. The candles flickered, waiting to be blown out. "Let's wait for Dad," he whispered. But the cake could not wait forever. "I'm so proud of you, champ," Daniel said through a glowing screen. But pride feels different when delivered through pixels. Another achievement. Another step forward. Yet as the applause faded, the room felt strangely hollow. Seasons passed. Shoes grew larger. Voices deepened. Childhood does not pause for anyone. Not even for fathers who promise, "Next time." Dinner conversations grew shorter. The laughter that once filled the kitchen had softened into polite silence. And still, Daniel believed he was doing it all for them. The day arrived when his son stood tall on a stage, achievement shining in his eyes. He searched the crowd once more, just in case this time would be different. But the seat remained untouched. A small space in a crowded room that spoke louder than applause. His phone reminded him. Just a small vibration in his pocket. He glanced at it briefly, then returned to the meeting that felt, at that moment, more urgent. He placed the trophy carefully on the shelf. Not out of pride, but out of habit. Achievements no longer waited to be celebrated. "They're growing up," she said softly. "Moments don't repeat themselves." Daniel nodded politely. "I know," he replied. "But knowing and acting are 2 very different things." The boy who once tugged at his sleeve now walked past him without a word. Distance does not arrive loudly. It grows quietly. For the first time, Daniel noticed the silence around him. Success filled his office, yet something essential felt missing. His phone lit up with missed calls. Not urgent, not dramatic. Just ordinary moments he had once again chosen to miss. It was their anniversary. The same cafe. The same table. But time had changed something neither of them could ignore. photographs told the story he had not noticed. Smiles captured in moments he barely remembered. Growth he had not witnessed. Time had moved forward, without asking his permission. One morning, Daniel came downstairs to a kitchen that felt larger than before. The sunlight was the same. The walls were the same. But the voices were gone. "I've been offered a place at university," his son said gently. Pride filled the room, but so did something else. A quiet distance that years had carefully built. Daniel searched for the right words. But words require practice. And he had not practiced being present. He had always believed there would be more time. Time for conversations. Time for memories. Time for later. But later had quietly turned into goodbye. The house remained bright. Sunlight still filled every corner. Yet it echoed differently now. He unfolded a piece of paper worn by time. The drawing. The empty space. The color never chosen. For the first time, Daniel truly saw it. He had not been absent because of circumstance. He had been absent by choice. The meeting suddenly seemed smaller. The urgency less convincing. Deadlines no longer felt like destiny. For years he had said, "I'm busy." Today, for the first time, he chose not to be. He returned to the park where his family once waited. The bench was the same. The tree still stood tall. But moments do not wait forever. For the first time in years, Daniel did not call to apologize for being late. He called simply to listen. They spoke about ordinary things: lectures, friends, the weather. Nothing urgent. Nothing dramatic. And yet, it felt more meaningful than any meeting he had ever attended. This time there were no awkward handshakes. No rushed words. Just arms wrapped around years that could not be repeated, but could still be honored. They walked slowly as though time itself had softened. Daniel realized something simple. Presence costs nothing, yet it is worth everything. He began to notice the small things: the way sunlight touched the kitchen table, the quiet comfort of shared silence. Moments he once overlooked now felt extraordinary. Work remained important, but it no longer ruled him. He learned that success is not measured only by titles, but by who is waiting for you at home. He began showing up. For matches. For conversations. For simple afternoons beneath open skies. And slowly, the space he once left empty began to fill. Years later, another small voice held up another drawing. This time, the father figure was colored boldly, standing right beside the child. Time does not pause. It does not negotiate. It simply moves forward, quietly, faithfully.